Madrid didn't spend money for a while, then splashed big on young talent. City waiting for KDB, Haaland, Bernardo to leave. Next season, City will be active. Haaland leaving?
I think City will. Yeah, Haaland's not going to go anywhere, but I think obviously next year, provided we don't get relegated, KDB, Bernardo, Walker, they'll have to be replaced. You know what I mean? So that's going to be big money. So yeah, maybe this is it. Maybe we're saving up for next year, because if you think about it, when Kevin De Bruyne leaves, probably next summer. At the moment, there's only really 3 candidates that you have to buy. You either have to get Jude Bellingham, which ain't happening because at Real Madrid, Wirtz, or Musiala. So the 2 players that you can actually get, they're over £100 million.
Not true. Not true.
Who?
Goal scoring, can play false 9. Scott McTominay for Sal.
Yes. So I didn't realise. You know what? That's a great shout. That is a great shout, man.
Can you imagine? We haven't seen any Serie A centre forwards work in the Premier League for over 10 years. Rasmus, 16 goals last year, FA Cup winner. The switch up in pace for centre forwards is worse than centre backs, since centre backs only need to switch up their pace, while strikers also need to think quickly. Thoughts?
I mean, he's not wrong about the Serie A to the Premier League move. I mean, you can look at some of them old school, can't you? And you can look at Gianfranco Zola, etc., Paolo Di Canio, etc., that have been Italian, that have done very well. But in the last 10 years, who are we looking at? Graziano Pella and Mario Balotelli are the only 2 I can think of that are Italian that have come to the Premier League, and neither of them really lit it up.
They didn't do very well. Yeah, they're okay.
No, neither of them lit it up. So you're right about that. Look, I think me and LB are on the same page here. We're not saying that, Chelsea won't go and get an Osimhen, but for me, I think they need to. In my opinion, because, if you look at the first 11 at Chelsea, you don't look at it and think it's a shambles, but certainly don't understand what they're doing as a project, man. It really is bizarre. And I think that Osimhen is one of a few that they need, to be honest.
Abs here says, is it possible that Chelsea are preparing for a transfer ban? Explain signing both Samu and Osimhen, and also the stockpiling.
Yeah, but if transfer ban, correct me if I'm wrong, I might be wrong on this. I'm just genuinely asking. Do you know when you got transfer ban last time? Could they sell players?
Nope.
No, so you don't really want to stockpile players, bro, because if you stockpile bare players and then you can't sell them, then what you're going to do is just stuck a load of players that you can't sell.
And they signed these 2. I think their squad's got would then be up to 47 people in their squad.
Wow, that's insane. Yeah, I don't think so. Because, like I say, they won't be able to sell them based off my understanding of the last one. So it might be possible that they're expecting some sort of breach next year, and this is a way that they're getting around it. I mean, all I'd say is, the people who are running Chelsea from a business point of view are very, very clever, very, very smart people. You don't become a billionaire if you're not smart. Yeah, you don't sell 2 hotels to get around profit and sustainability rules if you're not clever, right? Because they knew they could do that. The problem is for Chelsea is that their football intelligence is seriously lacking, and that's why they're in the mess that they're in. If they can do what United have done and start getting serious people in the background, and they might already have done that, Chelsea fans will know more than me, then maybe with the business acumen of the owner and the people running that, and then combine that with the footballing guys, maybe they can start making progress.
Yeah, look, I don't think they're getting a ban. But look, the one thing we do know with Chelsea, and I know Chelsea fans hate this, they think it's fear-mongering or scaremongering. I hear every time someone says one of those phrases, somebody else goes, that's not the right word, it's the other one. I think they both exist now, colloquially. So they've reported themselves for financial misdemeanors in the past. There is the distinct possibility of big fines, transfer bans, and or points deductions. That is there. If Chelsea don't make the Champions League this year, from a PSR perspective, they will be sailing very, very close to the sun. They just will be. And we know that because they've had to sell off assets. And I did see something from Maresca today, which I thought was very disingenuous, but I understand what he's doing. And I think he is trying to get the fans on his side. I want to read this out because it was shared by Simon Phillips, who's a Chelsea guy really good guy, actually, respect him well, knows his stuff. And he shared this, and I thought, interesting. So Maresca was asked on the academy players like Gallagher continually leaving. And what he stated, he says, is this is not a Chelsea problem. This is the rules problem. The club are compelled to sell players because of the rules. It's not a Chelsea problem. It's a Premier League problem. So essentially stating that Chelsea Football Club don't actually want to sell all these academy players, but they're being forced into doing it. And for me, my reaction is, I get where he's coming from, but he's talking about the reaction Chelsea have had to have for how much they've spent so far and dropped out of the Champions League and therefore lost income. If they hadn't dropped £1.5 billion and fallen out of the Champions League 2 years running, they wouldn't be forced by the Premier League rules to sell people. It's a little bit, it's weird to me. It was a weird comment for him to make.
I agree. I think it's weird. I think it's a bit of both, because you're right. If you don't spend 1.5 billion over 2-3 years, then you're not forced to sell your academy players. However, when these rules were initially brought in, do you think that the people who brought the rules in, because people bring in rules without thinking about the consequences, do you think that they really understood the consequence of what this actually means? What it actually means is that clubs are actually now not really going to be playing these academy players. They're going to be selling them all because they need the pure profit. So he's right on one hand, profit and sustainability is making Chelsea do this, but it's making them do it because they spent a ridiculous amount on transfers. So I don't think you can really complain.
I think your point about selling the youngsters is part of it. But I also think a big section of this is all of our Premier League clubs, is that I don't think any of us thought the Premier League would take the rules too seriously. So we've carried on charging more and more for selling players. Everybody's carried on committing to paying more and more for buying players. And then we've kind of hit a bit of a crossroads where suddenly now players with their wages and everything else are costing to a point where clubs are going to start breaching that PSR level. And I agree with the Brighton owner that we can't be bringing in rules to enable clubs to lose even more money. When clubs nearly went out of business 15 years ago before these rules came in for 50 and 60 million pound debts, can you imagine what 120, 130, 200 million, 300 million pounds worth of debt could do to some of these clubs? I think what we have to now see, and maybe we're at the beginning of it, is the cost of buying players starts to drop. So where a player costs 80 million now, maybe in 2 or 3 years' time, we start to see that drop down to 60 million or 50 million. That would resolve that issue. And I do get where Maresca's coming from to a certain degree. If Chelsea had spent that billion and had won the Premier League and won the Champions League in the last 2 years, they wouldn't be in a position where financially they were being forced to sell their players. It's a simple. I thought that was a little bit disingenuous from him personally, but that's just me. By the way, people, we're sponsored today by Stocks FC. Claim your free stocks today by scanning the QR code. Plus, you can go into the draw to win a signed shirt by Erling Haaland if you sign up to an account. And plus, his stocks are available to purchase today. 4,500 out of the 100,000 available had been sold in the first couple of hours this morning. You've got 5 days. And if you don't buy stock in him now, you'll never be able to buy it from the platform again. You'll only be able to buy it off of the users. That is how the platform protects its users. That way, you guys own them. You guys get the rewards on them. And if you want to buy that stock, you have to buy it off of another user at the price they essentially set. So it's a really good concept. I love it. I think it makes people put their money where their mouth is when it comes to their footballing opinions. And I'm not going to lie, I've stuck quite a bit on Haaland today. I bought like £250 worth on him because I think he's going
to cook this season, bro.
Oh,
I've seen him. You probably haven't, because why would you? But have you seen him in pre-season? He looks sharp, bro. He looks quick. Be scared.
No, he does, and the way, I mean, you guys didn't create too much for him against Chelsea the other night. I stayed up and watched the game, but the way he pounced on those opportunities, electric, sharp, full pre-season, ready to go, and you guys had 14 members of your first team squad missing for that game. Your actual first team squad being there, yes, it could be dangerous times. It could be dangerous times with him up front. And one of the guys. I was looking at the sort of the way they break down the reward points on Stocks FC. Based on how they give out reward points, he would have been the highest performer on the platform last year based on the goals that he scored. So yeah, he could be huge to invest in, and I've certainly done it already.